Christchurch support for Mayor's joint statement on accelerating climate adaptation in cities, and Leanne, if you'd like to do this one for us.
So I apologise. This is a report on an invitation that I received to participate in the 1000 Cities Adapt Now global program, which I assessed to be in line with actually all of the things that we've just been debating. The joint statement which I signed up to on our behalf looks at the shared principles that drive cities' climate adaptation action. So in many respects, I mean, I didn't participate in the debate on the last item because I knew I would be discussing it here, but in a way I wish we weren't talking about climate change. I wish we were talking about climate resilience and action in the same sort of breath, because climate change is kind of passive. It's what's happening. You know, climate is changing, but our response to it has got to be about building resilience, and that fits very much in the resilient cities network that we have been a part of since 2013, and essentially the work that's being done in a number of areas that have focused on the need for cities to take action. So I've just presented it to you. And so all the resolution asks is that we receive the report and that we note our role in progressing the 1000 Cities Adapt Now global program. And as I said, it ties in with the work that we're doing. It also ties in, and I did speak about two things in particular. I mean, Christchurch is a very small city compared to the other cities that were involved in the online conference that I spoke at, or the Mayor's Forum, and I spoke about our engagement with mana whenua and how significant the role of our local iwi in terms of climate change adaptation was, and that the fact that they had taken a leadership role within their own rohi. And I also spoke about the significance of the work that we were doing with our local communities in terms of coastal hazards and the preparation work that's going in, the investment in 23 communities around the climate change adaptation planning. Often people wonder what the value is around international networks, and I just want to mention one thing that's happening next Tuesday, and it is as a direct result of our engagement in this network, and that is we have Henk Ovink, who is the Special Envoy for International Water Affairs for the Kingdom of the Netherlands, who, as people might know, was involved in the Hurricane Sandy rebuilding task force, as the principal of Rebuild by Design, the author of Too Big, which I have a copy of in my office if anyone wants to borrow it, but it is Rebuild by Design's transformative response to climate change arising out of the Hurricane Sandy rebuild. That the connections between the Netherlands and our own little city of Christchurch on the other side of the world is significant. His knowledge around water, flood risk management, water governance, building with nature and living with water, they're all incredibly relevant to this work on adapting now. And it's also relevant to the work that we need to be doing around a number of things surrounding water governance and all of the issues that we're having to confront in that area. So I'm just, the report really speaks for itself, and I'm just simply asking that you note our role. I've not committed us to any sort of financial undertakings of just looking around the table. I've simply said that these are important issues for us, and that accelerating and scaling climate adaptation actions in 1,000 cities around the world by 2030 is a very good objective and one that we want to support.
Thanks, Leanne. I first came across this at the Business and Climate Change Conference last year, and the British High Commissioner at that point was encouraging cities to join. So it's been really good. Do we have any questions for Leanne? Jimmy?
Those 1,000 cities already target to focus on that or not yet? Still going on by 2030. 1,000 cities.
That people are being invited. Cities are being invited to join.
Already?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, being invited to join.
Okay, so not yet, still going on by 2030.
They're gathering up the signatures.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Aaron?
Yeah, the under the joint statement is founded on 5 shared principles that will drive the climate adaptation, focusing on equity in the vulnerable and poor communities and adaptation and climate resilient actions. What does that one mean?
In terms of ensuring that there is equity, I think what it identifies is that around the world, a lot of particularly vulnerable communities, in terms of impoverished communities, live in low lying land areas alongside rivers or close to the coastline, and they are particularly impacted by climate change and sea level rise.
All disasters.
And of course other disasters as well.
Yeah.
When I spoke to the former head of the UN Development Programme, Helen Clark, at a conference a while back, she said that all of the work that they do in terms of UNDP investment is actually investment in resilience, and because there is no point building back the way things were and re-exposing people to the vulnerabilities that they were exposed to that caused the problem in the first place. It's actually about building resilience to future events at the same time, and that's been their model of investment for a very long time.
Right, so is it about lifting them out of poverty or just adjusting the environment around them?
No, it's about being, lifting them out of poverty. I mean, I heard what you said before in the climate change paper. It is true that people that are in, who are poverty-stricken find themselves in more challenging situations, but it does mean that people need to be. It does mean that cities that have vulnerable and poor communities that are living in environments that are particularly vulnerable, then they need to, their situation needs to be catered for. So I mean, I don't think that these apply equally in every city setting.
Right.
But there will be some cities that have extremely vulnerable communities alongside rivers. And if you look at the impact of drought, if you think of how many millions of people, for example, are dependent on the Ganges, and you apply a drought scenario or flood scenario to either, any part of that population, you're talking major trauma being imposed on communities. So it's just, it's looking at whether communities themselves are in the position to adapt. And you'll notice that advocating for local leadership and empowerment and funding to gain leverage and scalable action, the government has already said that it is going to have to participate here in New Zealand around some of the most vulnerable communities to sea level rise around the country, and there are people that are very wealthy in those communities, and there are people that are not so wealthy in those communities all around New Zealand. So it's just about finding an equitable way forward.
Right. Any further questions? No? Okay, in that case...
I'm happy to move it.
Happy to move it. And Pauline seconded. No, any debate? No, in that case, I'll put the motion. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any against? No, it's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I think what we'll do...